What's going on, y'all? This is Just for Stocks and Giggles, a show where we talk about stocks and have some fun doing it. I'm Bull.
And I'm Bear. We have a great episode for you all today. This is our margin for error series, and we have a few topics we're going to run through. Five different topics. We're going to give ourselves just kind of rapid fire, 5 minutes each. So let me set a quick timer here.
And while he's doing that, it's called margin for error because we only have 5 minutes. There is a margin for error when we're discussing these topics. Let's do it.
Right. First topic is Elon Musk adds crypto payments on X. So, boy, how do you
I'm
feel
surprised
about
it didn't
that?
happen sooner, honestly. Is it official that he added it?
Well, you're right. There's talks of him
Okay.
adding it, so I'm not gonna say it's official that he's added it, but there's talks of him adding that
And
to
I
X.
mean, he's a big crypto guy and he loves Dogecoin and he just loves doing things like that. So, I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't done it sooner, to be honest. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that he's adding this, and like you said, I am surprised he hasn't done this sooner because I'm sure he's gonna try to put everything on X, and this is gonna make X kind of a
Yeah.
financial platform, which is interesting.
And he actually has talked about how he has dreamed of X becoming the everything app. You know, like in China, there's an app called WeChat, which is literally it's like your Uber, it's like it's like your Facebook, it's like your TikTok, it's everything all in one. So and it's like your PayPal or your Square or whatever. So I think this could be very similar. Um, whether I think it's the right move or not, I don't know. What do you think? You think it's a good move?
For him, for sure. Like it's adding to his portfolio. Um, and I mean, it makes stuff easily accessible. And like, I'm putting an article on the screen now, which is just I know he's working on a money app, X money app. So I think it's gonna be, it may be more than just crypto, just where people can send money in general. And people are on X, spend so much time on X now. So it could be cool. It also could be a little risky.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how X I'm not on X. I don't know about you. So, and it's also it just feels so weird to call it X and not Twitter, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I'm so used to calling it Twitter, and I know we kind of joked about it, but as far as like everything Elon's adding, but what do you think? What do you think is next? Like, because X, you can already do so much stuff, and I even joke like, man, what if he makes like a OnlyFans as exclusively a part of X? Like, what else do you think he could add to
uh,
X?
Tesla self-driving and just like integrating all of its companies into one app. Um, who knows? What do you think?
Yeah. No, I could. I mean, I could see just about everything on there. I think it's probably going to be where you can eventually, maybe it's a streaming service
Mm,
too. Like you can play games on
yeah.
there. Obviously the financial platform, like he might even have where you can get loans for houses. I think it's going to be like an all in one stop
You
shop.
have your mortgage on X. Okay.
Yeah, that'll see
All
wild.
right.
But anyway, let's keep rolling because I think that was good for that topic. We gotta give us a little extra time for the next topic, and the next one is something I saw that I'm really curious to see what you think because this one is really interesting to me. But so Robinhood Ventures Fund or Robinhood is launching a venture fund that retail investors can be a part of.
Yeah.
So and so essentially what it is, real quick, I'll give some details and let me know what you think. But so the fund actually launched already. So it launched on March 6th, and essentially it's a basket of late stage private tech companies that Robinhood is investing
Mm,
in, and they made a fund, but they're allowing retail investors to be a part of it. So they before March 6th, you were able to actually invest in it pre IPO, which most retail investors cannot get access to anything on the stock market pre IPO. But they are allowing stock investors to do that with theirs, and now you can still invest. Obviously, it already launched, but you can still invest in it. Like, what? How do you feel about about this?
that's very progressive and like this is Robinhood again is doing something that a lot of other brokerages and companies aren't doing. So there are ways to invest in private equity, or like not necessarily private equity, but private deals like this right now. Like seed funding these deals and all that stuff. But what Robinhood's doing here is kind of nicely packaging them into, practically a small ETF. Another company that has something similar, even though it's known for real estate, is Fundrise. But Fundrise also has a venture um, arm similar to this, a fund you can invest in. And so some of the companies in this Robinhood fund are Databricks, which is pretty popular. I don't know if you've heard of it. Revolut, Mercor, Airwallex, a few other ones, Ramp Financial. And so, anyways, these are all pretty, I guess tech heavy, and they're late stage private companies that I guess once they IPO, is obviously an opportunity for whoever's invested in these. So what's interesting though is that even though these are private companies, this fund trades with, it's trading for $23 and 40 cents today. So like it trades like a stock. So it kind of is giving public investors access to these private companies. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And like you said, I mean, I appreciate you clarifying that. Like, yeah, there are ways for retail investors to invest pre-IPO, but the average retail investor probably doesn't know about.
Right.
It's not general knowledge, I would say.
And it's
But
also
this
really
is kind
new.
of
Like Fundrise, what they're doing is like maybe 3, 4 years old.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And this is I mean, Robinhood is an interesting company too. I feel like we should have a, episode on just them one day because one, I think they were one of the pioneers for just the gamification
Yeah.
of stocks, where they just kind of make it fun and get that energy rush. This is the time or two, so we'll wrap it up
Yeah.
soon. But just get that energy rush when you're investing, and then they have also where you can gamble on their app now, and now they're introducing this where you can invest in a
Yeah.
venture fund. So I'm curious to see what else they'll
Um,
offer.
just to real quick, Funrise's fund, their innovation fund, has Databricks as well. Also invested in OpenAI, Anthropic, um, Ramp as well. So pretty much there's overlap, but like this is a good way if you're interested in getting into these type of companies. It could be a way to get into those. I probably recommend the Fundrise one just because it has more. But anyways, next topic.
Yeah. So the next topic is Bitcoin. So as everybody knows, at the start of the year, or early last year, start of this year, Bitcoin took a big dip, and it was all the way at 125K at one point, and it dropped down as low as into the 60s. But this week actually, it's been routing a little bit. So it crossed 73K at this
Hmm.
recording. So do you think Bitcoin is on a real bull run, or is this just like a 65, 69 to 75K hover?
I mean, I don't think there's any way for anyone to know. I think it's just a guess. But I do think long term Bitcoin is going to go up. And so, like, any opportunity, if it does go back down, I think that's just an opportunity to buy more because I mean, it already was, 120 or 125K a few months ago. So, like, that's it's very likely to get back to that point again. When that is, who knows? Whether it goes back to 10K before it gets there, who knows? But I do think that the long term trend is up. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think that it's on its way up, and kind of a fun fact about Bitcoin. So I just was kind of playing around and I looked up the starting price of Bitcoin every year. So this is basically at the start of the year, what Bitcoin
Yeah.
is. And every year after, like, let's say, like, for example, 2026 was lower than 2025.
Hmm.
But in the history of Bitcoin, there has never been two consecutive years where the price was lower than the
Right.
last year,
Do
if
you
that
have
makes
this
sense.
somewhere?
So,
Can we show this on screen? Or
let me see. I just kind of popped it in the
oh,
AI, but
okay.
let me see if I can find let me see if I can find it somewhere. But I had looked at I've been looking at this for a while, and I just kind of thought of it again. But if I can find it for a second. But
Yeah.
while I'm doing that, maybe
You
kind
could
of
just Google
give
starting price of
a few.
Bitcoin. Goo-
Yeah, let me do. Yeah, I'll do that. You're right. Let me see. Starting price of
Google
Bitcoin.
starting price of Bitcoin each
Pull
year.
that up, everybody.
What were you saying? You want a few what?
No, no. I was saying while I'm pulling that up, maybe you can kind of talk to if you had to guess. Like
Oh,
I know that we're guessing, but
yeah.
like if you
As long
had
as we
if you had to
understand that we're
guess,
guessing, then yeah, I'm down to guess for sure. What
if you had to guess, do you think that Bitcoin in 2027 will be higher than the starting 2026 price?
absolutely. Not even just like not not just guessing though, but just like you're saying history says that in all likelihood that will be the case, but it's not even just like, you know, that history saying that. It's also the fact that people are getting more comfortable with it. Like my mom knows what Bitcoin is now, like if people are being told, there's investment advisors. We just had a guy on the show who's that he, advises people to invest in Bitcoin, which 5 years ago that would have been ridiculous. He would have been, he would have lost his license or whatever, right? Like, so I think like society's perception of it is just changing, and that is good for the price of Bitcoin. Like more people are gonna want it. It's simple, supply and demand.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Bitcoin is going up. And here, I found
Right.
this graphic real quick on Google so people can see it. So it doesn't have 2026, but I can tell you that 2026 is 87,000 was the starting price. But like just look at this. Like, and obviously the early years are a little skewed, but 2011, Bitcoin in January starting price 30 cents. Next year it went up to $4.70. So it went up again in 2013 at $13, went up again in 2014 at $770. Then it dropped down to 315, right? So that's the first drop. But then it went back up to 430. So only one drop. Then it went up again to 960. Then it went up again in 2018 to
It did just
13.
go up at
Then it
like
had a big
10x
drop.
or just like 12x in 2018. But
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, 2018 was like a
Right.
big jump because it went from 960 to 13, but then it had a big drop. You see in 2019 it went from 13 to 3, but then again we don't see a second drop.
Hmm.
It goes up. It doesn't get up to the 13,000, but it
Go
does
up.
increase significantly. And then it has a huge jump, another huge jump in 2022, and then a big drop in 23. But then see, it doesn't drop
Right.
again. It goes back up to 42,
Right.
and then it goes up again at 25. And obviously in 26, it dropped to 87K. So based on
Right.
history in 2027, my guess is
It'll
like
be
it's gonna be higher
it'll be like a
than
hundred.
the
I mean,
last
based
year.
on this, it
Or
looks like it might double or something. But I mean, again, that's a complete guess. The actual price is a guess.
complete
But
guess.
what isn't a guess is that, what I was saying before, like people want Bitcoin. The demand is going to increase. There's like institutions and stuff like ETFs being created and all this stuff where like in the 10 years, one Bitcoin is just definitely going to be more valuable. So I think everyone should own at least a little bit of it. I don't know what you think.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had this conversation before. We'll move on right
Yeah,
into this because I know we went over it. But like, I'm super pro. Like the way you are about Nvidia is
right.
probably how I am about Bitcoin, and I love Nvidia too. But I'm like, man, put as much of your chips as you can in Bitcoin.
Right.
And I'm not. Again, this is just me, my opinion, right? Do your research, but I really like. I'm very high on
Yeah.
Bitcoin. But anyway, moving on to the next topic. So I'm sure a lot of the viewers know about the different Iran strikes and what's going on with that and U.S. involvement. But Trump just warned of new strikes on Iran. So it's kind of interesting. Is this going to turn into a full out war? And how is this going to affect the stock market? We already seen some oil prices rise. Like, what do you think about all this?
Mm, it's not good. I don't think. But like, it's not gonna. I've said it before. It's not gonna affect how much money Microsoft makes next year, and that's really what we're talking about. Like, once we have an event that is gonna affect how much money Microsoft makes in the next year, then we can start talking about, oh wow, is this gonna change the trajectory of the stock market? Sure, different sectors like energy is definitely going to be affected, but it's being affected in a good way. Like, um, energy stocks like when oil prices go up because they can charge more, right? So, or their profits are higher. So, I mean, it's not a good thing for the world that there's war, but like it also isn't bad for the American economy, if you know what I mean. What do you think?
Yeah, and that happens a
Right.
lot where a lot of stuff may affect the rest of the world in a big way, but the American economy doesn't take the brunt of the hit. And
It might
I
even
think this would be the
benefit,
same
to
way.
be
We'll
honest. Like defense contractors and energy companies might love this.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. From a stock market, from just a stock market standpoint. I think this is just going to be something short term. But obviously we don't know because if this turns out into some just bloody war and more countries get
Right.
involved, you know,
World War III.
we don't. It could be something totally different. But as of now, I think it seems like it just would be something in the short term.
Here's the thing, though. Like, and this is again, this is gonna sound maybe cold or whatever, but like during World War II, the whole world was involved, but the only part of America that was affected was Hawaii. Like, yeah, Pearl Harbor was the only time America was attacked. So again, it sounds very cold, but like a lot of this is happening far away from America's shores. And it's like, yes, American companies, which is what we're talking about. I'm not talking about like, geopolitics or anything. I'm just talking about the stock market here. Like American companies really aren't going to be too affected by this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I guess the main thing would be though how this impacts global trade,
Yes. Yeah.
because if the war gets too crazy, it could impact global trade, and that definitely could have an impact on the stock market and us. Again, I don't think it would trickle down to America as quickly, but I mean, it could, and it definitely could have an impact on companies if trade is ruined or hurt.
Agreed. But then, for us specifically, we're talking about like tech companies or whatever, like selling software. Again, Microsoft isn't too impacted by trade, but anyways, that's probably, yeah, I think the biggest thing is the Strait of Hormuz being closed. Oil can't get through there. And yeah, like you said, trade could be impacted and, prices could go up in general for, the average American without a doubt. Gas prices are already skyrocketing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. All right, so the last topic is on Adobe. Think of Adobe PDF, but their CEO just announced he will step down, and their stock has dropped as a result. So, we've seen this happen before with companies. We've also seen the opposite, where when a new CEO comes, like I remember when Nike got a new CEO when his stock was down, and their stock actually went up
Yeah.
right when they got a new CEO, because I think he was a very well respected guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but like we see these trends happen where stocks can fluctuate based on different
Yeah.
CEOs.
So how much of an impact does the CEO have, right?
A lot, and I mean it's almost, but I mean it's more so. A lot of the times, it's speculation on what people think the CEO will do, which is interesting because it's not like obviously the CEO he hasn't even started
Right.
yet, or like this CEO for Adobe.
I will. I mean, yes, I think the CEO has a massive amount of impact, but like on a day to day basis, the CEO practically has no impact, right? But on year to year or decade to decade basis, the CEO has a tremendous amount of impact. And I think a great example is one of the like most ruthless CEOs, probably one of the most effective CEOs ever was Bill Gates. He made Microsoft. Obviously we know why Bill Gates is Bill Gates because he was the CEO of Microsoft for so long and he made them so successful. But then after Bill Gates, there was a bunch of CEOs who weren't as good. And so my favorite or my least favorite is Steve Ballmer. He's probably the funniest though, who like he was the one who said, "Oh, touchscreen phones, who would ever want that?" Right. And he was sticking with, the keyboard phones. But anyways, the point is that like that one decision cost Microsoft, kept them out of this $1 trillion smartphone market. And it's like that wasn't, the workers' fault. That was the CEO himself's fault. If there was just a different CEO there, if Steve Jobs was CEO, they definitely would have gotten in the smartphone market. So, anyways, the point is that like the CEO changes the strategy of the business and they make single decisions that can completely, change the business. So I do think the CEO has a huge impact. And then also CEO can have no impact and just not make decisions and just kind of be like a lame duck. But I do think a good CEO can have a huge impact. Sometimes, right? Right. But here's the thing is that so that works for a private company, but when we're talking about Wall Street wants growth every single year. So you have to be doing something. You can't just be like, oh, we're just gonna coast. You have to be doing something. Now, private companies for sure, I think that's a great idea. But anyways, I think that's a good topic. And I do want to have a segment on CEOs where we talk about what different CEOs are doing and whatnot. Yes, sir. That is all we have for you guys today. And remember,
This is all just for stocks and giggles.